little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with a continuation of the crocheted Amigurumi bunny rabbit. And today we are going to make the head. Yep. So I've got my yarn, I've got my hook, and we're going to start with round 1. All right, so this actually is very, very, very similar to how we started to create the body of the bunny, with some very, very clear alterations that will become clear as we go on. But for now, it is going to increase in pretty much the same way. So we're going to start with our slip knot as per usual, and a chaining of 2. And then into that first chain that we created, 5 single crochets for the first round. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, that is the first round. Onwards to round 2. Okay, round 2, going to be an increase round. So in each of these single crochets, we need 2 single crochets. So we're going up from 5 all the way up to 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in this stitch right here, just sort of scooch on over. Going to do 2 stitches into this one and the next 4. So I got 1 and 2, and then into the next one, 3 and 4. Next one, 5 and 6. Next one, 7 and 8. Next one, 9 and 10. All right, that's the end of round 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew in my tail and add my scrap yarn to hold my place. The first 2 rounds, it's really not necessary, but going to go and do that, and I'll be right back. Okay. Okay, round 3. Added my little scrap yarn, and I sewed in the tail. And so we're going to be going from 10 stitches up to 15 stitches. So it's going to be 2 stitches in the first stitch, 1 in the next, 2, and then 1, 2 and 1, all the way around. So got 2 single crochets into the first stitch, 1 and 2 together, and then 3, that next one on its own. And then 2 in the next stitch, 1 and 2 together, and then the third one, the next stitch alone, and then 1 and 2 together, and then 3, the next one, and that next stitch by itself, and then 1 and 2 together, and then 3 by itself, then 1 and 2 together, and 3 by itself. And then move your scrap yarn up. Always good to keep track of your placement. There we go. Okay, and that is the end of round 3 with a total of 15 stitches. Okay, let's continue on. Okay, round 4, we're going to go from 15 stitches to 20 stitches. And like I noted before, this is round 4, so it's increments of 4, because 5 times 4 is 20, right? So into the first stitch, 2 stitches, then the next 2 stitches, 1 in each stitch, because it's 1, 2, then 3, 4. I hope that makes sense. It really was a great trick for me when learning how to do amigurumi. So I've got 1 and 2 in that same stitch, and then 3 by itself, and 4 by itself. then 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and then 3 by itself, and 4 by itself. 1 and 2 in the same stitch, then 3 alone, and 4 alone. Because 1 is the loneliest number, it needs a friend, right? So 1 and 2 together, 1 and 2, and then 3 by itself, and 4 by itself. 1 and 2 together, then 3 by itself, and 4 by itself. And then move your stitch marker up. And also, 2's company, 3's a crowd, so move the marker up, and there you go. That is the end of round 4. Okay, round 5. Yep, we're increasing again. So 5 times 5 is 25, so it's going to be increments of 5. 2 in the first stitch, and then 3 alone, 4 alone, and 5 alone. Then 2 in the first stitch, 1 and 2, then 3 alone, 4 alone, 5 alone. 2 in the first stitch, then 3 alone, 4 alone, 5 alone. 2 in the first stitch, 3 alone, 4 alone, 5 alone. 2 in the first stitch, then 3 alone, 4 alone, 5 alone. And then, of course, move your marker up. Ta-da! Okay, end of round 5. Okay, round 6. We're following suit the exact way that we have been. It's just adding one more stitch. So, 2 in the first stitch, 1 and 2 in the first one, then 3 alone, 4 alone, 5 alone, and 6 alone. 2 in the first stitch, 1 and 2, 3 alone, 4 alone, 5 alone, and 6 alone. 2 in the first stitch, 1 and 2, then 3 alone, 4 alone, 5 alone, 6 alone. 2 in the first stitch, 3 alone, 4 alone, 5 alone, 6 alone. 2 in the first stitch, 3 alone, 4 alone, 5 alone, and 6 alone. Okay, and then, yes, move your marker up. And that is the end of round 6. Round 7, again, following suit. I'm only going to do 2 repeats because it's really the exact same thing as we have been doing, just increasing the number. So 2 in the first stitch, 1 and 2 together, then 3 alone, 4 alone, 5 alone, 6 alone, and 7 alone. Then 2 in the first stitch, 1 and 2, then 3 alone, 4 alone, 5 alone, 6 alone, 7 alone. So then it would be 2 in the first stitch, and then go up to 7, 2 in the first stitch, go up to 7, until, of course, you reach your marker. Then move the marker up, and we'll go on to round 8. All right. Okay, round 8 is going to be the last round in which we are increasing. By the way, this is the back of the head. Didn't mention that sooner, but I am now. All right, so again, 2 into the first stitch. 1 and 2. Then 3 alone, 4 alone, 5 alone, 6 alone, 7 alone, and 8 alone. 2 in the first stitch, 1 and 2, then 3 alone, 4 alone, 5 alone, 6 alone, 7 alone, and 8 alone. All right, so then of course the next 2 stitches would be in the next stitch. That's 1 and 2 together, then go up to 8, and so on and so forth, until of course you reach the stitch marker. Move it on up, and I will meet back up with you in just a moment. Be right back. All right, so now that we are done with the increasing, now we need to have our head grow out a little bit. And so 9, 12, 9, 10, not 9, 12, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yes, 9 through 15. Okay, so that is going to be 7 rounds. No increasing, no decreasing, just 1 single crochet per stitch all the way around, maintaining a count of 40 stitches all the way around for 7 rounds. And that is going to build it out a little bit to the side. And then we're going to start decreasing for the rest of the head shape and the muzzle. And that is going to come soon enough. So get to work, my dears. 7 rounds, no increasing, no decreasing, just 1 stitch per stitch all the way around. And I will see you for round 16. Okay, be right back. Okay, round 16, we're going to start in on the decreasing. Now, this is something that I figured out. It's basically a way of decreasing only part of the shape as opposed to the whole thing. See, up until this point, when we were doing our increasing, we were increasing 5 increases per round. So then you would think, well, we're going to do 5 decreases per round. In this case, not so, because we only want to decrease about half of our shape. In this case, it's going to be, instead of half, because it's 5, well, 3/5 of our shape, which means we're going to be doing 3 decreases, not 5, per round to create the top part of the head and then eventually the muzzle. So let's get to it. Okay, so if you recall with our decreasing, we're only going in through the front loops. So going through the first 2, pull up a loop, and then pull up a loop on the next one, and that's going to count as 2. So 1 and 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Then another decrease through the front loop to make 1, through the front loop to make 2 together, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. One more time. Through the front loop for 1, through the front loop for 2 together, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, I didn't need to count that last 8 because we're going to be just doing single crochets for the rest of this round until we reach the marker. Just 1 stitch per stitch. We're not decreasing anymore. Just 1 stitch per stitch, but I like to do the counting anyway because it helps sort of clarify and solidify things in my rather addled mind. Hey, do whatever works is what I always say. My methods are not for everybody. I will be the first to admit that, but they work for me. And if they work for you, hey, great, more power to you. So just doing 1 stitch per stitch for the rest of this round. And then, of course, you guessed it, we're going to move the stitch marker up. And that will be the conclusion of round 16. So move the marker up. Do. Boop. All right, and that is the end of round 16. Okay, round 17, we're going to be following suit in the same fashion that we did with the last round. Going to start by doing our decreases, but it's going to be 1 less because, well, we have fewer stitches to work with, right? So through the front loop for 1, through the front loop for 2, stitch those 2 together, then 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Do another decrease through the front loop, through the front loop, and that makes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. One more decrease through the front loop, through the front loop, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Totally unnecessary counting, but I like to anyway. And for the rest of this round, I'm just going to do 1 stitch per stitch, and then when I reach my marker, move the marker up, and we'll continue on to round 18. See you in a bit. Round 18, following suit with what we've been doing again. So pull up a loop in the front loop and through the front loop. That makes 2. And then by itself, we've got 3, 4, 5, and whoop, 6. Okay, then another decrease through the front loop, through the front loop for 2, and then 3, 4, 5, and 6. One more through the front loop, through the front loop. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, crochet the rest of these stitches, 1 stitch per stitch, and I will meet back up with you for round 19. Okay, round 19, decreasing again down to fives, so to speak. Okay, so start with a decrease through the front loop, through the front loop, two together, that's two, and then 3, 4, and 5. Decrease again through the front loop, through the front loop, then 3, 4, and 5. Once more, through the front loop, through the front loop, two together, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, do single crochets for the rest of your stitches for this round. Move your marker up, and I will meet back up with you for round 20. Okay, round 20 is going to be the last round of these sort of wonky decreases. So bear with me. All right, so again, going in through the front loop and the front loop, two together, that makes 2, and then 3 and 4. Okay, another decrease. 1 and 2 together. Then, it's going in through the front loop. Pardon me, sorry. I can't do this. I can do this. 3 and 4. Good, I did it. Okay, one more decrease. Through the front loop, through the front loop, 2 together, then 3 and 4. Great. Okay, so then once more, just do your single crochets to the end, move your marker up, and I will meet back up with you for the next series of rounds. Okay. Okay, so at this point, your piece should look something like this, where you have 3 decrease lines at the front of your piece. That is to be expected. That is normal. And as you can see, it has sort of a kind of an interesting oblong egg shape going on here. This right here, this space right here, is actually going to be the front of the head, and this is going to continue out just a little bit for the muzzle, and that way he has some space for his face. Yep, because the eyes are going to go about here, thereabouts. Now, if you are using safety eyes, okay, personally, I am not going to be using them. However, if you do, the placement will be approximately right in here. In fact, let me grab my bunny to show you about whereabouts the eyes are going to be. Sort of scooch him on camera here. So you can see these are the decrease lines, and so they would be placed in between those lines, because we got one here, we've got another one here, and then we've got another one here. So thereabouts is where you would put them if you're going to do the safety eyes. However, like I said, I am not, so you can stitch these on with yarn at any given time, even when the piece is completely closed, hello, and finished. So that being said, I just wanted to give you the option if you are going to be using safety eyes. However, I'm not. I can't stress that enough. So we are going to continue on from here, rounds 21, 22, and 23. So 3 rounds, going to be doing single crochet all the way around, just 1 stitch per stitch, no decreasing, no increasing, just even stitching. And then I will meet back up with you for round 24. All right. All right, round 24, we're going to continue decreasing. Now, at this point, you are going to want to stuff your head nice and firmly because we are going to be closing this up as we go. So I'm probably going to add some more stuffing as I go, but I really can't add much more than what I got. So now right now we have 25 stitches, so we're going to be going in increments of 5 to do our decreasing. So going in through the front loop of the first and the second, that's the first 2 stitches, and then, whoop, got caught on the fiber fill there. So that's 3 and 4 and 5, then another decrease through the front loop, through the front loop, that's 2, 3, 4, and 5, okay, then through the front loop, through the front loop, that's 2, and then 3, 4, and 5, through the front loop, through the front loop, together, that's 2, 3, 4, and 5, once more, through the front loop, through the front loop, 2 together, and then 3, 4, and 5. All right, that is the end of round 24. We got 2 more to go. All right, be right back. Okay, round 25, decreasing once again. So through the front loop and through the front loop, it's 2 together, and then 3 and 4, okay, through the front loop, through the front loop, 3 and 4, through the front loop, through the front loop, 2 together, 3 and 4, through the front loop, through the front loop, 3 and 4, one more, through the front loop, through the front loop, 2 together, 3 and 4. Okay, we're almost to the end. We're getting there. Just move my marker up and we'll do the next round. Okay, last round, round 26. A couple more decreases, nice and easy. Go in through the front loop and the front loop. So that's 2, and then just 1 to make 3. through the front loop, through the front loop, and then 1 by itself to make 3, through the front loop, through the front loop, 2 together, and then 1 makes 3, through the front loop, through the front loop, it's 2 together there, and then 1 makes 3, and last but not least, through the front loop, through the front loop, 2 together, and then 1 makes 3. All right, now believe it or not, that's it. Yeah, I know, right? So what I'm going to do right now is actually I'm going to fill the remainder of the muzzle up and give it a little bit of shaping so that it looks more muzzle-like. And then we're going to close this up, and also we are going to add the facial embellishments as well. Alrighty, give me a moment, I'll be right back. All right, so at this point, your head should be nice and firmly stuffed. And of course, you can always sort of massage and squoosh your head into the proper shape. It should look something like this, and so forth. It's not an exact science, but you do want to have it to be relatively firm. So I already cut my yarn tail and pulled the loop through. And now what we're going to do is going to stitch this mouth opening closed. And the reason why I didn't decrease further is because if we did, it would come to a point, and I wanted to avoid that. So that's why we left off at 10 stitches. So what I'm doing is I'm just going in through that next stitch, and I'm going to go across to the other side and pull my yarn through. Not too terribly tight, but just going across through, and then go into a stitch back, and then a stitch forward, crossing over like that, sort of like the spokes on a wheel. Okay, and then cinch up a little bit. And again, it's not an exact science. If you have a method that works out better for you for doing this, go ahead. It's all good. So closing this on up. And also, besides, this part is really going to be closed up and also relatively hidden by the nose that we're going to stitch over this. So right now at this point, I'm just sort of going in a little bit randomly, just so that it's closed. See? And just a couple more stitches should do it, actually. Fortunately, I'm not a surgeon, cosmetic or otherwise. All right, see? Nice and closed. And it's even hard to see where it was that I was doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a little bit more stitching to reinforce what I did. Okay. I hope that made sense, what I just did there. But I'm going to close this up a little bit, reinforce my stitching, and going to sew in my end. And then we will start in with the facial features. Okay. See, we are so close to being done with the head. It's fabulous. All right. Give me 1 second. Okay, now I'm going to start with the nose. And what I did was I put a nice big fat knot in the end of my yarn. And we're going to start by going in from underneath, okay, and figure out approximately where we want the point of our nose to be. So it's going to be about center, right about there or so, the bottom of the nose. So just sort of figure roughly about there, because we also have to accommodate for the little mouth. But right about there seems about right. Maybe a touch lower. Right through there. Okay, right about there seems about right for me. We want it to be relatively center. Now, the beauty of this is that if you don't like it, you can always, cut it and undo it. It's not set in stone. So what I'm doing now is I'm pulling that, and the knot is going to get caught on the inside here. Nice and convenient, no? Okay, so now we're going to be basically doing the satin stitch, okay? And basically it's going over and over and over an area with solid stitches. So figuring out the rough angle about there. So going in at an angle and then going back through where we went through with the nose. Same stitch. Okay, like so. And pull the yarn. And that is the first stitch. Now you don't want it to be too terribly tight. You don't want it to pucker. Okay. Then figure out perhaps the angle of where we want the nose to end. So about here, roughly speaking. And then again, through that first stitch. And does this have to be exact? No, it builds character. There we go. And this guy is going to be a little character, I can tell. All right. And then from this point, going to go alongside of the first one that we did. Not on top, but just alongside. And then to cover that over, I can go in again in a similar spot, or I can push that stitch over. Now, are my embroidery skills up to snuff? No, not really. I'll be the first to admit it. But I think that this, like I said, builds a little bit more character than just plopping on a store-bought nose. See, basically you're just layering the stitches and then go in a little bit further. And layer on the stitches. And, like I said, you can fiddle with this. You can take some stitches out. You can go back and pull some out, rearrange them if needs be. It's not a big deal. But that is the start of our little bunny schnoz. And if you just keep adding more and more layers, he'll have a big, full nose, and also it'll cover over these various gaps and things. See, right now I'm working in between this stitch right here. A little bit tricky, but I persevere. I keep moving and grooving. Okay, so I'm going to add a couple more stitches exactly as I have been, make this a little bit more full, okay? And then we will continue on with the mouth and with the eyes, okay? Okay. Okay, so I added a little bit more stitching to the nose to make it a little bit more full, and then the tail, I ended up working all the way through here, cinched it, cut it, and there you go. All right, so now we're going to be working on the sort of mouth lines, and again, going in through the base and going to that point just underneath the nose, at the base of the nose. I'll get there. I'll get there. There's a lot of stitches in there, so a little bit tricky, but it's worth it. Success. Okay, so push that through, pull the needle. Boom. Okay. And that just disappears. Okay, so after pulling the yarn through, want a small line going vertically. Not a terribly big line, just, a stitch or two worth, say maybe a centimeter or so away. And then from there, go down at an angle. And that's going to create half of the bunny mouth, because we're going to go back in through that same stitch. So we went down, and then we're going to go up through that same stitch, and then again down at an angle. Again, don't pull too tight. And then through that same stitch once again. And then down through the bottom. Bunny mouth. Instant bunny mouth. Yes, it's a fabulous thing. And then, of course, you can knot this and pull through, and you are good to go. And then we will do the eyes, which will be up here. Now, what you could do, and what I actually might do, is instead of cutting my yarn at this point, what I'm going to do is actually, I think I'm going to work my tail up my piece. Now, this sounds bizarre, but it will work. What I'm doing is actually I'm working up the side here, because it's very difficult to work through the entire head. So what I'm doing is I'm sort of working my way through the same stitch that I just came out of, and then up to approximately where my eyes are going to be. And I can fix this, but see, we were all the way down at the mouth, and now we're all the way up at the eyes. Isn't that convenient? A little trick for you. So what I need to do is figure out, again, in approximation, where I want the eyes to be placed. And I'm going to figure that out, and I'll be right back. Okay, upon further examination, I actually kind of like the placement of where this first eye is going to be. Now, again, this is how I do it. This is not how you have to do it, but I'm just showing you how I do it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to make an X, and then I'm going to go around the X to make it not look like an X. So going from this stitch down, and then up to the next one. Okay. Again, don't pull too tightly, and then down, crossing over, and then back through the first stitch that we did. So we have ourselves a little X. And then we're going to go in a box formation around. So going down and then go across. And then back and then up. And then down and to the point where we started. Right there. Okay. And pull. And then back. And almost got it. And then through. Da-da-da-dum! Bunny eye. There. Okay, so then going from here to approximately in a straight line, relatively speaking, which would be about here or so. And of course, I'm going to go underneath the fabric, and we will do the next one. Okay. All right, so I figured out the placement for the second eye, and I know that my hands are a little bit shaky right now. Sorry. So basically, this is the top left corner. We're going to be going down again in the X formation, and then through this stitch here. And then through up here, and then back through that first stitch that we made. So going sort of across, okay? All right, so we have our initial X, and it's at this point that you want to determine, all right, is that how I want my second eye to be placed? And I think that's about right. So from here, again, flush, well, make it flushed out, filled out. So I'm going to go down through here and across. And if I don't like it, I can always undo the stitches. They're very easy to pick out. And then go back. And let's go up. And then down and up. And across. And down to that corner one again. And we can always add more stitches to make the eye more full if needs be, which that's not a problem. Like I can go across again if needs be, and I think that I will actually, going to the opposite corner. And then across, I think once more. There we go, and that should do it. Yeah, little bunny eyes. Yeah. He's so cute. He is so cute. All right, and then from here, what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to run my thread back through, down, and out this bottom area here, I think. Just go straight down. And yeah, that is how you make some bunny eyes. So yeah, going from here, going back down through the whole piece. Whoop. He got some personality, don't you think? I think so. I think he's adorable. Or in my case, it's more like adorkable, but I think he looks rather distinguished. Yep. All right, so that is how you do your facial features for your little bunny friend. And next episode, the next part of this crochet along series, we are going to be covering the ears and the tail and how to sew everything on together. And I will see you guys in the next video. But until next time, I want all of you, yes, you, to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, and please stay safe. Yes, take care of yourselves and each other and your bunny friends. And I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.